Hello, my name is Doug Mayhews, and I'm here to present to you a webinar on the Canadian Major Dailies subscription database that's offered by ProQuest to academic and public libraries on an annual subscription basis. Basically, the purpose of this webinar and the associated fact sheet or handout, if you will, is basically just to give you a brief overview on what the Canadian Major Dailies database is, as well as its scope in terms of the publications that it searches, and give you a few search tips that may help you to refine your results and increase the relevance of those results, and then to help you to more efficiently and quickly cite those results within any given bibliography document for any research paper or project that you've been assigned. So why don't we kick things off by going to the Canadian Major Dailies database, and typically many academic libraries, public libraries, will arrange their databases to which they subscribe alphabetically, as well as by subject or course discipline. To search by or to search or to list them by course discipline or subject, you would just click on this link here. But in this case, you can see I'm on the alphabetical listing. We would just click on the Canadian Major Dailies database, and if we were not signed in, they have typically a web proxy that would basically see you use your student or library patron credentials and associated password or PIN to basically get access to the database. So we're just going to click over to the Canadian Major Dailies database. One of the brief things we may want to check out first is the search tips, because that tells you what advanced search commands, or Boolean search operators as they're called, are accepted by the ProQuest database. And if we scroll down to the operators, fields, and special characters section, you can see we've got the typical AND operator, so that helps to narrow your search results by making sure that both of those words that are on either side of that operator are included. Or conversely, helps to broaden your search results by allowing either of the two. And then the not operator can restrict certain words. Let's say if you've got there's a synonym for something, and you would want to exclude a certain word that's also associated with that synonym or something like that. But you would want to make sure you include that not operator at the end of that particular search field, because any words after that operator are indeed excluded. So there's proximity searching, which basically sees you use the word near or the word n, followed by the backslash, and then the lowercase n basically acts as a variable, where you would replace that with a number, and then so let's say if you changed it to 10, basically you could have search results that would have those two words that would be within 10 words of each other. So it's a little bit more broad than the next one, which is phrase searching, which you're probably familiar with Google, that sees you include two words in quotation marks, and in order to require both of those words be found together. So similar, but not quite the same. So that's a helpful page on usage and stuff. There's also wildcard and truncation searching, which is detailed in more detail in my associated handout or fact sheet. So we'll just close that for now. You can also, in order to determine the scope of the database that you're using, and this is helpful in any database, basically they'll have usually a list of sources that are searched, in this case publications. You can arrange them in summary mode that gives you all kinds of details like previous title names, full text coverage, which would basically be from dates when they would have articles archived. So it's important to note that not all daily newspapers in Canada are searched here. You can see, if we look to the Ds, my local newspaper, the Kelowna Daily Courier, is not actually listed here. So just something to keep in mind. But that's very helpful in terms of determining if that database will be useful to you. Now, let's say we were assigned a project as a communications or business student, and we were wanting to determine how a particular corporation handled the public relations for a pet food recall. You may remember the pet food recall that occurred, I don't know, maybe a little over a decade ago. And what you would do is you would search by the subject, or if you knew the company name, you could enter that first. In this case, it actually will sometimes come up here, but in this case, oh yeah, here it is, Menu Foods Pet Food Recall. So let's actually try that, and we're going to restrict the date search, which you would do by using this publication date field here, and select that specific date range. We know it was occurred sometime in the mid to late 2000s, somewhere in there. We would want to search anywhere so that we're including our keywords are searched within the full text of the document, and then we could restrict it to English language documents as well. That's helpful. And then we may want to actually sort the results by most recent first, which is helpful for chronologically, determining the placement of the results, especially if we know we're going to have a good result. So first search out, you may not want to arrange them by most recent. You may want to arrange by relevance, and then once you've fine-tuned your search strategy, then you could modify it to basically sort them by date. So in this case, we're going to hit search here. And you can see we've got the most recent result first, but if we did want to modify this, we could use this modify search link here, and it would take us right back to the previous screen, because sometimes if you use the back screen, you'll lose your keywords in the search field. So we can see court approved pet settlement, judge okays $24 million Menu Foods settlement from that author in the National Post. Tells you when most of the articles are from, and it was actually March 2007, so that gives us a good idea kind of when basically the whole thing took place. So you could go back maybe to page 6, or you could further refine these. You may want to restrict it to certain publications, as I mentioned, and then you would, if you find one that you wanted to select, so let's say for some reason you wanted to select this one from the Regina Leader Post. Got an error there, but we'll just try that. You could, and you actually were going to use that one. There's a way to efficiently cite that. You would just use that, select the results you want to use, hit cite, and then you can choose the format that's appropriate for your or called for by your institution or instructor. You can see they don't actually have the 8th edition, the most recent edition from the Modern Languages Association in terms of citation formats, but we could use the 7th edition for the purpose of this webinar. And you could just highlight, copy, paste, use external software such as this RefWorks, but there's other ones as well, or you could email the results to yourself as well. So we'll just close that out, and we'll just go back to the main search screen. That's basically just one example, but there's many other ways that you can refine your results or limit them. When we go to the advanced search screen, you can, as you can see, we can limit by all number of things. As I said, publication. We could make use of the subject headings, which I briefly talked about in the drop-down box, but you could also, click on that link, and it would list related subject headings to your given search. But for now, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in the contact details of the associated fact sheet. Thanks, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.